Namaste and welcome to all the participants who have joined us today for Teen Sawaal with Dr. Senthil Kumar. I think it's very interesting set of people whom I have today with me. I have people traveling all the way from top of India, that is from UP, and then we have at Madhya Pradesh, and then we have Kerala. But before we get into this particular session, let me quickly try to take some housekeeping announcements. First of all, extremely sorry that I promised that I will be doing this particular data series on a regular basis for 3-4 episodes, but because of certain commitments at the personal and professional level, I was not able to take it up. But now I promise that at least next 2 more episodes I'll try to cover. I think in the last episode, we had the opportunity to cover Chhattisgarh, Punjab was there as part and parcel of that particular conversation for us to make sure that how exactly these things could be done in data. Just to set the context to the participants who have joined, you can, I know that there are few questions which have already come up on WhatsApp and email to me, but if there are certain specific questions, you can keep posting it on Facebook live on the comment section. I will take up these particular questions as we keep going ahead on this particular area. Let me first start with the topic itself. Data literacy in our schools. Why are we trying to talk about this particular topic? There are different reasons that I think, and based on my little experience while traveling with different kinds of school across the country, one thing which came out explicitly that how exactly can we make some of these things much more meaningful, where all of us can actually use data for taking the journey forward. And over a period of time, what I have kind of understood is with new education policy coming in, one side you are trying to talk about a data-driven kind of a thought process when it comes to 358 for doing the diagnostic assessment. On the other side, you are trying to talk about a digital portfolio, which the schools are expected to kind of keep a track. And once this particular students are going to look at it, whether it is their attendance, whether it is their health record, whether it is the peer assessment or parent assessment, these are some of the topics which everybody is trying to grapple around with. But my request is that rather than we trying to say that, okay, there is something which is available. No, there is nothing which is available in a standard format. Only thing what all of us are supposed to do is that try to identify from different principles across the country, what are some of the good practices that is available. And I promise, like last time somebody reached out to me after the session and requested me, can we also see some of the companies which how they are using the data analysis or what kind of analytics are being coming in. We will try to do that little later, not at this particular time, because today's agenda is to hear from principals who are working at different parts of the country and are trying to make an impact over their large number of years of experience. On our panel today, I have first, let me introduce Ravinder Kumar Pandey, seasoned principal with 20 plus years of experience. Today, he is the principal of Delhi Public School, Agra, with over 4,500 plus children. I think I'm correct, Pandey?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome on the show. And just to give you a little more background about this, he's the principal of DPS. Before that, he was principal of DPS Varanasi, Aditya Birla Group, Sanjeevani School. He was also a lecturer with a B.Ed college. I think that experience would also, I'll surely like to hear from him. Not only this, before that, he was also at Lawrence School, Bangalore. But I think my acquaintance, a little experience which I had with him was in 2009 when he started his career as the science teacher with Christ School, Bangalore. Along with this, Mr. Pandey has kind of traveled with multiple kind of not only cities, but also trying to kind of looking at multiple types of qualifications which he has kind of acquired. Whether you go to the West, he has gone through with Harvard. On the East, if you want to go, he has gone to Queensland to get those kind of experiences and leads too. So I think this just gives us the idea that we have somebody who runs a campus with 4,500 children, 20 plus years of experience, and he's going to kind of talk to us today. Welcome on show, Ravinder Pandey, once again. And just for the convenience, I'll call him Ravinder on the conversation. Next, I have Dr. Rajesh Sharma. Rajesh Sharma is again somebody, teacher by choice. I loved his introduction, what he had shared with me. and I know him for years now. I think teacher by choice and counselor by training, and he says principal by profession, and that's the present avatar what he plays with Sardar Patel School in Bhopal. And somebody who was also a teacher from 1998 onwards, and from 2004 with APS, that is Army Public School, IPS, and my acquaintance came up with him from Calorex Public School, which is one of the units of the Calorex group per se as such, then Bal Bhavan, then Vinayam, and today with Sardar Patel. Most important thing is that he's also traveling and trying to see multiple kind of teachers across the country under his role as the CBSE master trainer for CCE, life skills, happy classroom, and the list keeps going on. One of the things I think which people always say ki ek principal ne kya choda hai, what a principal has left. I somehow love this particular idea that he, along with few like-minded educators, started something called as Global Teachers Meet, which is annual meet which happens in the month of December at Bhopal or Indore, I think one of those locations. Yeah. Bhopal, if I'm correct? Indore also it is once. Okay.
Now we are kept in Bhopal.
Okay, now it's again gone back to Bhopal, and Bhopal is the place, and I think it's something which you should look forward. It's like a when I went for the first conference, I told them, I think it is like a annual Kumbh Mela for teachers where people should come together and talk about what they are trying to do and how exactly they are kind of working around. So welcome on board, Dr. Rajesh Sharma, and we look forward to hearing for your experience. I have Dr. Zacharias. Again, somebody I call him Zach more than Zacharias, and again a very passionate teacher, moved on to multiple kinds of schools within Kerala, then went into one of the large schools of Oman called as Indian School Muscat as the vice principal. Kuram School, he was Prudent Private International School, he was, and he heads the Valley International School in Kerala right now. And somebody who's again very passionate, working with children and wanting to take the learning back to his classrooms and start working. Not only this, he also has another avatar more than principal, which is also called as the academic director of the school. So this academic director is that you have multiple campuses, or there's a plan to grow into multiple campuses?
We have a plan to grow into multiple campuses.
So that's why I think this one more avatar is being seen as academic director. Let me start the whole conversation, and I will follow the same sequence what I said. What is my understanding basically when I try to talk about data literacy? Because data, everyone is talking about financial literacy, people are talking about life skills, people are talking about so many aspects. But what I, as a teacher and somebody who has moved away from teaching now, but still working with schools, I always felt, I think it is very, very important that data literacy is a set of skills that people need to ask questions for collecting the data, not only collecting the data, but also analyzing the data, not only analyze and come out with some images in form of, some bar graph or a pie chart or something, but also make interpretation of that particular thing, and then try to talk about the data is telling this particular thing for us. So my first question, basically to Ravinder is, can you please tell me what are the different sources of data that you are collecting in your school? Point number one. Two, just two examples, because we will try to see that how we can kind of just one or two examples. What are the data points that you collect, and get into one or two in little detail. How do you collect? What do you do with it? And how you take decisions based on it. So we would like to kind of, see in, whole thought process per se.
Basically, when we are talking about data, most of us, the moment we use the term data, we only talk about numbers. But let me make it very clear. We are not talking about numbers alone over here. Though numbers are involved in data, but there are a number of things. Like what I'm going to do is, to be very, very practical, I'm just going to talk under four heads. Let me say that we have what is called teachers' data. Now, when the teacher comes into the school, no doubt we are talking about their qualification. We talk about the subjects, their work experience. Many times we forget, talking to them about their hobbies. we forget to, talk about the areas of interest. Because a teacher, maybe he's a BSc B.Ed, or these days you find not only BSc B.Eds, but you find BTech B.Eds coming into the system. You find engineers coming into the system.
Correct.
So the question arises is that what are the areas apart from, teaching mathematics and science, what is that they can contribute to? And if we can have this type of data, captured with us, then it's going to go a long way. And I'll share how, this can be used. See, today, if you look into NEP, the new education policy is actually, giving you a lot of scope to explore a lot of things. Like, it is not just teaching maths and science in the school, but you talk about the vocational courses which are coming up, the skill-based courses which are coming up. And if we are going to have, a database with us saying that, okay, fine, a particular teacher may be teaching mathematics, but he or she loves drawing, or he or she loves doing something. So what I can do is I can use him or her as one of the skill teachers in that particular classroom. So it is very important for me, to capture such a type of data, and this is what we have been doing. In fact, we have been also, talking about, there are a number of teachers who come into, they were not teachers actually. They would have been in pharmacy industry. Now they have come into teaching, or they would have been into some other industry they have come. But having this data with us helps us, to give them classes or give them something which they like to do. Another important thing which we need to look
So what are you trying to say, that you have some data with specifically related what sectors people have come and joined you as teachers? So you use that particular data for the HR practices of your school.
HR practices.
And then this also helps you to look at what kind of periods can be given for them and how exactly this could be connected.
This can be connected. And more important thing, like, for example, when you're talking about careers to the students, these teachers become examples to them. So, in fact, I have teacher who is actually a physics teacher, but he's not interested in teaching physics, but he's more interested in teaching music.
Okay.
So if we have such type of data with us, then what happens is it helps us. Second important thing is when we are talking about the students. Okay, no doubt every school is recording their marks, whatever they are getting, what they are doing with their marks, the examinations they are taking. But what I feel is we also need to have data regarding the hobbies of children.
Hobbies when we are okay, data about hobbies of children. Okay.
Okay. Apart from that, what would they love to do? Because it is not necessary that every child who comes to the school he only loves to study. No, they may be liking something else to do. At a very young age, they may, I have students who say that, sir, I'm not much interested in studies, but I want to become an influencer now. So he or she is talking about, being a social influencer. And when I look into their classes, that they're hardly in 7th or 8th standard.
Okay.
So the type of, the inputs that we have, apart from that, what happens is we can also talk to them saying that what is that they want to get engaged. Now, what is that they keep themselves engaged with? There are children who are getting engaged with your mobile phones and things like that. But there are also students, I find, they are building websites. They are, getting into business. These days, they have already got into online business now. So if I can have such type of data with me, then what happens is I can guide children. It is not only guiding children, but it also helps as a school to think what is that I have to do in the school, so these particular children can be engaged. Now, what else can be brought into the school? Apart from this, when we are talking about the competitive examinations, today it is, when we talk about competitive examination, it is not just IIT or the NEET examinations which you are talking about, but there are various other competitive examinations. In fact, if you talk about India, we have already started experimenting with PISA. Chandigarh was the area where, the Kendriya Vidyalaya students were trained, and finally we could find that, yes, we couldn't stand well in that. But now the question, it comes back to us as schools saying that, are we going to train our children? How are we going to train our children? Or how are we going to look at that? Getting them into, preparing for PISA. And if I'm talking about children preparing for PISA, it is not enough. First important thing is, are my teachers capable of creating questions like that?
Right.
Okay, so
That's, I
this
think,
is
something
again,
very important, which we also need to kind of look and understand from that particular
yes. So
perspective.
are they able to translate those particular questions into things which are going to measure things? Because if you look into PISA, you find most of the things data is coming in terms of numbers. So am I able to convert my questions into measurable numbers? So that is a challenge for the teachers now. So
Sure.
such type of thing. Apart from that, let me talk about the admission data. When we talk about the admission data, no doubt, we have students coming in. Many times we become complacent saying that, okay, fine, students are coming in, but it also is, we need to introspect saying that why are students coming? What is that I am offering to the students? Why is this particular student come in from another reputed school to this particular school? So we must also have that particular data saying that what makes these particular children come. The reason is if I have such a data with me, then what will happen is in future, I will also, be able to give those things in a better manner to the students who are coming in.
Sure. So
So
the admission and exit of the student data is also very important
very
at the
important.
leadership level to basically see what is coming in and how people are walking out also.
Walking out of the school, especially these days, no doubt we are talking about that dummy admissions. We are talking about dummy schooling, where it has become a challenge to keep the students of grade 11, grade 12 with the school, and
Sure.
and it is not only that, even if you look into, even you would find that these particular thing can go down. Today, maybe the 11th standard students are moving out, but tomorrow, what is the guarantee that the 7th standard or the 8th standard students will not move out? So such type of data needs to be analyzed and looked into.
I will come back on that one particular part which you talked about, the dummy school numbers, data. I will come to that particular
Yes.
thing. Thank you for actually trying to tell us very clearly on HR, hobbies, the competitiveness data, other examinations, how exactly teachers can leverage this data.
One area, one more which I want to just touch upon is the advancements in technology. Because these days what is happening is, no doubt, technology is booming up. And at the same time, I don't believe that technologies are going to replace teachers. In fact, it is only those teachers who don't use technology are going to get replaced.
Correct.
Otherwise, it is not. But at the same time, we need to understand, how this technology can be used in the school, to have better decision making, how decisions can be made. Today we are talking about AI, we are talking about various softwares, we are talking about this. But how is this going to help us? This is another important area that we need to do. And this is what we are doing.
So technology is again one of the technology becomes more a tool basically for people to understand how to leverage this particular tool. Now moving from top of India to the central India, let me invite Dr. Rajesh Sharma. Rajesh, you have been you have seen defense, army schools, you have seen other kinds of school too. But I think it's very important for us to get your perspective because you're also a CBSE resource person, you're a counselor, because as a counselor, you actually require a lot of data from, about the child to do the personalization part of it, which is again very important for all of us to kind of understand. Your own perspective, what are the different kinds of data that you are trying to collect and how are you using it? So we heard in DPS Agra how they are doing it. Let's hear from Sardar Patel, how exactly are you using it?
Actually, sir, data is something which I take it, when we are, suppose I compare it in an analogy, when you are painting a portrait. So a child is a person available, the portrait has to be created and we can have a perfect portrait now with data. So as a counselor, as a principal, the demographic data, what Mr. Pandey was talking about, we collect it as it is needed. Now for child to help, we have to have data on the performance assessment of the child, formative, summative assessment, then his performance in the sports. I have a very strong belief. We need future leaders. NEP says, हमको विश्वगुरु बनना है. So how? We have to create leaders. And for data is needed, how much participation our children are doing in sports. Because I have a strong belief leaders are created in ground, not only in the classroom.
Right.
So that data, how inter-school participation happens, what are the competition they are going, what are the sports and games they are playing, we collect that data and prepare as per the performance. And you'll be happy that my girls football team has been doing good in whole Bhopal. So
Yeah.
this is the data interpretation which helps us to create a better portrait of each child. Thank
See,
you.
Rajesh ji, I know that you have kind of also, worked with multiple schools. Admission form mein hum log itna we collect so much of data when it comes to admissions, right? Admission form.
Yes.
But how much is actually getting used in the classroom transactions or classroom designs?
I tell you, sir, the data which we collect at the admission time, especially we use parents as resource person because the qualification of the parent is very, very useful. Then as it is admission time, so the child from which background he is coming. And I always tell the teachers, please know the child. It is the KYC. Know your child is, you should not only know him demographically, you should know his psychology, sociology, geography, anthropology. Then you will be able to really help the child to grow. So that is where the data which we collect in the admission form is used so that we can have parents as a resource, we can give best possible support to the child in the during the examination for preparation and how he should be doing, what kind of learner he is. So all this data, and then not only this, we also collect at the exit time alumni data.
Alumni data. Okay. So how are you
Yes.
using? See, suppose if alumni data, how young is your school? How many years?
This school is 25 years old, sir.
24. That means it's on the silver jubilee era now.
Yes.
Okay. And the first batch of students would have passed out from your school sixth major, if at all, if they have joined in fifth and sixth. So I think you have already 15 batches out of your campus.
Yes. Already they have passed out.
Yeah. So 15 means they should be in their 30 and 35 now. Correct? They should be in 30, 35 years of age. What
Yes.
is the, are you able to also make some analysis ki the educational experience, whatever that you have taken, the alumni data, is it helping you to go back and revisit your practice? What about teaching, learning? Kya hamara unique tha? What all to be worked on it?
As a matter of the feedback which the children give, कि सर हमको ये यहाँ पे और करना चाहिए, हमको ग्राउंड में कैसे और इम्प्रूवमेंट कर सकते हैं, लैब में क्या क्या फैसिलिटी और हमें लानी चाहिए, एंड द वे टीचिंग एंड टेक्नोलॉजी वी हैव स्टार्टेड with a smart class, but we have had a integrated syllabus also in the junior classes. And the best part is we are using sports in teaching a lot. Connect sport is, yes. And this is popularizing our pre-primary classes among the parents like anything. So that data collection and the feedback is coming from the students only, that the sports encouragement, along with that, the academic support which the teachers provide, plus we have a mentoring by the teachers. That is also a good feedback from the alumni, which gives that the psychological support which a mentor gives to the children.
And I think now CBSE and NEP is also talking quite a lot about well-being as the whole thought process.
Yeah, mental health has come
mental health has come up now quite a lot, and people are expecting that all of us need to be, well-being is a very, very important criteria per se, as such, which we need to look for. Let me move on. Thank you, Rajesh. Let me move on to Zacharias. Zach, probably you have seen India, you have seen Middle East, because you have seen both the kind of environment, and both are CBSE schools. So if I have to look at from the perspective of Indian perspective, both are CBSE schools, and you were part of a large section of in that particular campus. And now you're an independent principal. So how do you think, there are 10,000 students and here you have around 1,500 students. I think, correct me, what is the number that you have?
600.
Yeah. So how are you trying to use this particular numbers to basically make meaningful decisions in your campus? And what are the different types of data that you collected in your school? Go ahead.
Well, we collect a lot of data. And as we discussed yesterday, none of them are put to any kind of use at the end of the day. It all lies in the school office most of the time. So now I've started empowering the teachers with the data, giving the data to the teachers as to find out what kind of instructional policies that they can come up with. The annual academic plan that we wrote was basically by the teacher after going through the data. Now, one very classic example I can point out here in Kerala on how I used a particular data. Every day in the morning when the school buses come, we have about 20 school buses coming in the morning. The school buses come and this guy stands there and takes down the number of students who come into school. And I started analyzing this data and I found that on Fridays, the number of students are less.
Okay. Any specific reason?
So that is what I started wondering. It was not the Muslim community because we have very few Muslim community. First, I thought it must be the Muslim community, but all the Muslim community children were there in the school. Then I started analyzing which kind of children were absent. And I found that one particular kind of Christian sect wouldn't send the children on a Friday to school simply because the school was serving them non-vegetarian meals on that day. And Friday is the day that they have to eat vegetarian meal. And therefore, the best thing was to do, not to send the children on a Friday rather than, make them eat a non-vegetarian meal. So this year, what I did was I changed the menu. And on Friday, I told all the parents that Friday will be a vegetarian day. And today, the number of students have come back to normal. It is about 98% of attendance. So that is point number one I wanted to make.
That's interesting, very, very interesting. No, sometimes what happens, we go with a caterer's idea to just say, tell us a menu and give us a balanced diet, and we will kind of, try to follow it through, and then this becomes very important. Yeah, go ahead. Jacob, go ahead.
Yeah. Again, lingering on the catering side and the menu side, another interesting observation that I had the other day, there was this kindergarten child who was very happily eating the meals, what was being served in the school. So the teacher took a video of that and sent it to the parent to make the parent happy that the child is happy eating the food here. And the parent calls up and says, what is that white stuff that the child is eating? So she said, it is puttu. My God, my child never used to eat puttu. This was the comment that was made by the KG directors to me. So I started analyzing why this was so. And I discovered that both the parents are IT professionals. They will come back in the evening and order Swiggy, which is either a burger or a sandwich. And the child has never seen puttu in his life, the traditional food that is in Kerala.
Correct.
And when the child saw that, the child started eating. So this is also putting data into use.
Correct.
Another thing what Pandey mentioned was very interesting about using the talents of teachers. Now, I have a French teacher who is very talented in dramatics. And this year, I have put her into dramatics and gave her lesser French period. And she is very happy and performing very well. Now, coming back to your question, how we are putting this into, all sorts of use. We tried to draw a graph on how the performance is coming through and why it is not going up in some classes and why it is going up in some other classes. Using that data and giving it to the teacher is tailor-making their own teaching strategies in class, which I'm monitoring. But earlier, before on the sidelines, we were talking about ERP. Now, ERP, again, I have my own way of getting the ERP and I have my own way of monitoring the teachers. And while monitoring, I find that some teachers cannot deliver certain lessons because the teacher is coming from a background which the teacher cannot actually teach that particular lesson or is not exposed to such things. So I'm trying to find or analyzing the data and trying to put the right teacher in the right job.
Yeah, Jacob, I agree with you because in one of the challenges which we are seeing in many of these, particularly the EVS subject, if the teacher has done BSc Science and he has to do social studies, they are not very comfortable with this. And the same thing is with the person who has done a social studies. When he has to teach a EVS, he struggles with the science subjects as such. So to balance out, I think it's a very interesting thing which is kind of coming up as part of this particular conversation. Yeah, go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah. This is another observation that I can make. When I started in the junior classes, I wanted to bring in the mother-teacher concept, where the teacher will teach all the subjects except the second language and the third language. in some of the schools in the hills where I studied in Darjeeling, or some of the schools abroad, in the Middle East, or even in the US or in Canada, what happens is the teacher teaches all the subjects up to grade 8 except second language. Even the class teacher even goes with the children for their PE classes. But here in India, in Kerala, one of the challenges I'm facing is the teacher saying that I am a science teacher and I cannot teach mathematics in grade 2. All right. Now, grade 2 mathematics, you don't need to learn rocket science to learn that. If you know the methodology and if you can go with the children, I believe that a teacher can teach that. But they are finding it very difficult because they have got a mental block. There is a mental block with the teachers. So this year, after learning this in the last 2 years, I've been here only, this is my third year. First 2 years, I studied what my problem is. And I found that the problem was when I took teachers who have got 10 years of experience, they are already corrupted. They can teach only science, but not mathematics.
So you are saying that number of years also corrupts the teacher, right?
Yes, because they become with the blinds, they cannot teach anything else. They're so used to it, they cannot come out of their comfort zone. So this year, what I have done is I have taken a whole clutch of young teachers who have just finished their B.Ed without any teaching practices or any training or any, not training. They don't have any experience anywhere else. So when they came here, I found that the English teacher could easily teach social science. And the social science teacher could easily, the EVS teacher could teach either math or science or social studies very comfortably, very comfortably. So again, one of the observations made by the panelists about teachers using their hobby skills. I have a teacher, a Malayalam teacher, but today he's doing better than, more than Malayalam. I think he's doing more into music now. He's teaching all sorts of songs in the school and he's taking the music classes. Young teacher, just 3 years of experience, but in the previous school, he said, sir, I was not allowed to sing. I said, you sing here as much as you want, no problem. And he is singing in the class. Children are enjoying it. The Malayalam classes are all being done through music today. And the children are loving it. I call it the art integrated class or whatever you want to call that. But at the end of the day, my children are enjoying. Teacher,
so I think that's where I think it's very, very important for us to understand this particular perspective, that once the data also, how are you going to use it and what is the whole thought process? Let me go back again to Ravinder. Ravinder, are you, will you be able to tell us that, do you think, first of all, collection of data is important? Because one of the challenges which I face when I go and talk to people and when I talk to principals, they say, my teacher say, aapne kaam badha diya. You are increasing our workload. That is one biggest pain point which comes in, right? So do you think, first of all, it is important? How are you able to convince your teachers basically to collect data and then make meaningful decisions on
it? Collection of data becomes very, very important. I'll give you a very simple example. In the school now, we have done away with annual days for the last 5 years.
What days? Annual days?
Annual days. We don't have an annual day celebration in school.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll tell you the story of this. It so happened that before 5 years, we started analyzing our annual day, the number of parents who visited the school. 4,500 students, we had 2 days of annual function. And what we noticed is, in the annual function, the maximum number of students who could participate were around 800 to 900. Okay, I couldn't have more than that on the stage. That was my limitation, what I had. And what I found is, I found around 800 to 900 parents of those particular students only coming to the school to see the annual function.
Correct.
There was another thing to this. Suppose a particular child was performing and his performance was over. I found that particular parent getting up from the chair and moving out. He was not interested. So what we found is spending around almost 1.5 month on this particular thing, and the output what we found was not much. So we moved into another format. Now, in fact, in the school, we have something called edutainment.
Mm-hmm.
Every class is given a topic. And these particular topics are there in the almanac. It is printed in the almanac. And if there are, what we have done is we have around 90 sections altogether, 90 classrooms. We give 2 classrooms, one particular topic.
Okay.
Now, it so happens that children prepare for this particular topic. It is both edutainment. When we talk about edutainment, it is education plus entertainment. These children perform, and when they perform, we call their parents.
Okay.
So initially, when we started, there was hue and cry that you stopped your annual function and things like that. But today, it has so happened that parents are so happy because every child of the school is getting a chance to come on the stage, perform, and every parent is able to see their child. We have it as a 1 hour function every week. Every week, we have almost around 3 times where the parent comes to school.
Okay.
Okay, and they see their children performing. So this could be done, because of the data that we had with us. And the most important thing, what we tried in this was, we found that theater was a dying art. No one was interested in theater. I still remember Mr. Senthil coming to Christ School asking us to come for a workshop, theater in education. And today I'm very proud that we have achieved this in the school.
Good.
We have a theater personality in the school. He was there with newspapers before. This is what I'm saying. And today he is a theater artist who takes care of this particular theater. And today children are well versed with theater. They are writing scripts, they are directing, they are controlling lights, they are controlling sound, they are preparing their PPTs. Everything is going on. So this is one part of it, where we are talking about data, how we found, the number of parents who were coming into it, and, how things were not going on properly. So this is one part of it. And Sandeep sir, if you could repeat the next part of it.
No, the first part is first you said that it's important.
Yes.
Second
Now,
part of it is
the second part is when you're talking about the teachers.
Teachers.
Am I
Particularly
right?
because collection of data is the biggest pain point which I felt, because teachers, as soon as you go, they raise their hands and say, sir, nahi hoga, aur kaam mat do padhao karke, that's something very important.
I see what is happening is, sir, when we are talking about data, we have to find out what are the ways in which you can collect data. Like, for example, let me say that every year, when the results of the schools come out, what we are interested in is, and we are interested in seeing whether our school has produced a city topper or not.
Correct.
But what we do in the school is, we are not interested in just knowing whether we have the city toppers or not. We are interested in knowing what is the average, school average. In fact, every school must not look into city toppers, but must look into what averages they have made.
Correct.
So what we do is, we analyze the averages, and we don't analyze just the school average, but we analyze the average per subject, per section, and we give it to the teachers. And not only that, every time, there is a test or examination, this is where the ERP is helping us. So initially there was duplication of work where the teacher had to, enter into a paper, again into a register and things like that. Now it is not that. It is just one ERP. The moment they enter into the ERP, I have their averages. So I, as a principal, I am in fact writing to all teacher that this was the first test. In the first test, this was your class average. This is the average that we have targeted for. How close are you to the average? Yeah. So when we are doing this type of work, I'm able to give them the data. All right. So getting data from them also becomes easy for me. And what we have tried in the school is not to load them up, saying that I want this data. But what is happening is, the moment they are entering into it, we don't have the duplication of that. Second important thing, what we have done now is, if you look into the learning standard frameworks, which CBSE had spoken about, we have already done this in the school. Like, for example, imagine we have got a concept called concept clarity tests. So what happens over here is, the teacher, moment he or she completes a certain portion in the classroom, immediately there is a test given, and this is an online test. It is on the system itself. But what we have done over here is, when they are preparing a multiple type question, like, for example, when we don't talk about 4 options here, we talk 4 distractors. So teachers, when they are giving the distractor, they also write against the distractor that if there is distractor 1 which is answered, and if it is answered wrong, then what was the child missing in the classroom, in the lesson?
And how many children in the classroom also?
And how many children in the classroom. So what happens is the moment they are doing it on the system, they don't have to collect this particular data. The data is already generated in the system itself.
Okay.
So we have such type of thing, and the remedial classes are held then and there. The remedial action is taken. So what happens is things move out better. Another important thing what we do is when there are admissions, we have an admission test. We are not giving admission tests just to accept or reject the child. Many times children are good. Okay, fine, I have taken him. What is good in him? I'm recording it. But there are children who don't perform well. So from day one, we counsel the parents. We have something called Saksham. We start training the child from there itself to see that those particular loopholes are done.
Sure.
Even during COVID, what we did is, after 2 years, when we started the school, we did not start the syllabus in the classrooms. We had a bridge course. We designed our own bridge. For every lesson that we started, we used to have a bridge. We spent some time and then started the lesson. So, we keep doing this. All these things come from the data that we collected during COVID times. We ourselves are analyzing, how best are we doing? What was that the child which was missing? So this concept clarity test, which goes on in the school from now and then, we are able to collect a lot of data in the teaching learning process.
So I think I'll come back to you again to, elaborate at the end. Rajesh, I think the question is same to you, but by the time you take up this particular question, I have already something very important coming from Nirmala Thakur. She says students form an important role in collection and using the data for their own growth, and principal just has to be the visionary. I think that's I agree, Nirmala ma'am, there with you. Yes, Rajesh. Yeah. Do you think it's important?
Absolutely.
And
she's right,
how are you able to convince your teachers to collect it?
Now, especially when we are talking of collection, the earlier teachers were scared of that data collection because a lot of manual work was happening. Now, what is beneficial with the help of ERP? Now, almost every school has a ERP. So they have to just enter once. And especially what I do, I'll tell them that how do you get a feedback? So the feedback is available through the data which is available. And then teachers themselves start analyzing. And then, of course, we try as a management practice that we give a positive stroke. There are deficiencies. Let us be very honest. Every system has got a place to excellence or to improve upon. So we always teachers, please, I'm not expecting you to be 100% perfect person on day one. Let us try to learn. So
Correct.
That is where the data collection, they take it on themselves. They themselves understand. And we try that how you should be interpreting, even right from preparing a question paper, that how they should be having the Bloom's taxonomy included into it.
Hots and lots, how can you segment it very, very
so how
clearly?
can you bring it in? So that data they see. Then plus we have an analysis done of the question paper, that how many students have attempted question number 1, how many have done right, how many wrong. So they start understanding the conceptual learning has happened or not. And that is where the teachers have taken the onus. And not only then, sir, data collection we did for the, we do parent orientation regularly. So initially, we found that some parents, right from class 9th onwards, the attendance is not very strong, or it is very thin.
Okay.
So then we saw that when the class teacher started talking one-to-one with the parents and telling them what we are going to discuss in the next parent orientation, we saw a gradual increase, and then it has helped a lot. And we started another in the junior classes, another is like a Mother's Day on Saturdays. So second Saturday of every month, we have it, the data collection is done, and then we see gradual increase and a better performance of the students in all the aspects, whether it is a project given by the teacher. Earlier, there was a gap between the parent and the teacher. So that also is done with the help of data. And always,
I'm sure, I think all the three principals will agree with me that whenever we are trying to talk about data collection part of it, it is also very important that when parent-teacher meeting is happening, if you remove the report card, the parents may not come to school itself. The report card isn't signed karna, that day they will be there, otherwise they may not be coming. But I think it's very interesting that you're saying that the Mother's Day is something which is giving you a lot of value addition. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is how we always, sir, collaborate with the parent, and that is happening through data. So teacher also understand, yes, we need to give him solid feedback to the parent, and with that feedback, the valuation happens, and that valuation helps them to perform better. So
Okay.
this is how it has been going on.
Good. But how are you able to convince the teacher? Because the teacher is somebody whom I would like to hear from practicing principals. आप लोगों के क्या mantra है? What is that mantra that you're using to make sure that teachers are encouraged to collect it?
So mantra is the same, that they have to, I always tell them, you please remember the Alvin Toffler, what he told, the illiterates of 21st century are not the people who cannot read or write. They have to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So if you want to fit in the team, you have to learn, and data is something which is going to be like Janam Kundali of a school.
Correct.
So,
Not only of the school, but also of the child. Yes, Pandey, and then I'll come back to Jacob. Yeah.
What I'm telling is, when we don't tell teachers to collect data for the school, it is teachers are collecting data for themselves.
Good. So that's another way to give responsibility or ownership to them to basically
Ownership to
collect the data. Yes, Jacob, what about you?
Yes, Dr. Senthil, what you said is very right. Data collection is one of nightmare for most of the teachers. And as a teacher myself, when I was at Indian School Muscat, whenever data had to be collected, this was a nightmare. And the ministry used to come out with so many data, whether it is a boy, whether it is a girl, whether it is a is a Muslim or
Which state?
non-Muslim,
Which state?
which state,
he's
so
coming?
many data which was I don't know. I don't know what use they put it to, but it was a nightmare. So learning from that, what I have introduced here is no teacher is asked to take any data. We on the other side, I use my IT department to make Google Forms, where these Google Forms are broadcast, and the teacher has to just call up, because there are only 25 students in each class. And on the first day itself, maybe about 15 of them will fill up that form and send it back. So the second day, there are only 10 parent who has not signed or not filled it up. So the teacher picks up the phone and says, "Madam, there is a Google form that has been sent. Can you please fill it up?" And by the third day, there are about, out of 25, about 22 children's data come in. The other 3 will never fill up. Whatever you do, even you go home, they will not do it. But I get the majority of my data back into the school. So this is how I get the data filled up. Teachers are not used to collect the data. It is my IT department, and every form that goes up, I personally check whether that is exactly the data that we want, and whether there is anything that is very sensitive. If there is a sensitive data, then I say no, let's not collect this data. I will go to the extension of what Dr. Pandey said, the story of your annual day. Coming back to India was a totally different ball game for me, because after 32 years in the Middle East, when I came here, there were so many things that, as Dr. Sharma said, learn, unlearn, and relearn. Right? So many things I had learned in the Middle East. When I came here, I had to unlearn them. One was this annual day project. This annual day project was a big thing in the school. 7 hours, afternoon 2 o'clock it would start. It will go to up to 9:30 or 10 o'clock. Everybody will come, and this is a Christian-dominated place. So the classmates and the classmates, they meet outside. They have a nice social meeting outside. They come back to school and have a nice time. There was nothing productive going on. And as Dr. Pandey said, if my child is taking part in it, I will sit there and watch. As soon as my program is over, I will walk out. So last year, I devised another plan, which my management said, "Jacob, this is not going to work. This is not what our teachers." I said, "Let us take a risk and let us do it." We did concerts, something like edutainment that Dr. Patel was mentioning. Class 1 and 2, one concert. 3 and 4, one concert. And 4 and 5, one concert. 3 concerts we did. Every child was given a time on the stage. Maybe not less than 2 to 3 minutes every child. And when it is in a group, 2 to 3 minutes or 4 minutes, it's okay. We can manage that. Every parent came in. I said 5:45, 6 o'clock is the thing. 5:45, I locked the gates. And 5:45, I locked the gates. I literally locked the gates. and the parents had to come through another gate to come into the school. So they knew I meant business. They all sat there till that, and I said this program is going to be only for 2 hours, 6 to 8, and 7:55 sharp I closed the program, and then we had dinner together. This is one way that I used the data from my previous years. Another thing, a very interesting thing, Dr. Sharma said about parent-teacher meeting and the parents coming in and the Mother's Day and all that. Yesterday, we had an eminent speaker from Kerala, Rishraj Singh, IPS officer, retired, who came in. I made a big hype about it, called every single parent, said you have to come. They all agreed. Out of about 400 parents, probably about 250 parents agreed to come, out of which 35 parents finally turned up. It was a shame.
How many? 35?
Only 35 turned up. There were many reasons. It was raining. And again, it was the second Saturday, so they have to sit at home. So many factors might have been there. And I had told in the beginning, I had predicted in the beginning that this parents will not turn up. Why? Because their children are not performing. They are not coming to interact with the teachers. They are coming to listen to an IPS officer who's not related to them. What is the big deal? So we could have had that IPS officer online at the comfort of their bedroom. They could have listened to the IPS officer. This is another learning that I have taken from yesterday's incident. So there are learnings happening every day for every top point that we have from our previous data.
Sure. I completely agree that I think, when we try to talk about the data and other part of it, normally what happens, people try to say data is all about for business or for the corporates, not for schools. But personally, what I feel is that I think if you have to personalize learning, like some of you said, I think it's very important to understand what is the profile of the child to learning patterns for this particular child. And this is where the scaffolding can be very beautifully done by the teacher to make sure that this particular learning has some kind of value addition in changing the pedagogical practice of that particular segment. My last question to all of you. Again, this time I'll start with Jack and come to Pandey. Jack, how do you think data collection in school, what will happen? Because everything has to be driven through numbers. Because the management will require the admission in numbers, will require economics in numbers, the reading of books in numbers. I know that there's a reading app which has come up that also talks about numbers. So everywhere, even if you take up a health record, that health record has any connotation to the teaching learning practices or not, I'm not very sure about it. But if you are given a chance to say that how exactly we can introduce the data literacy in school, and I don't want to go to that route which others have taken. I want a very creative idea from all of you, trying to say that if at all in your own campus, if you'd like to introduce, a data literacy, how will you introduce? One. The second part is that how will you institutionalize data literacy in your campus? Because doing at a leadership level is one particular part of it, but institutionalizing. It is not done because Pandey sir पूछ रहे हैं, Sharma sir पूछ रहे हैं, Jacob पूछ रहा है. ऐसे नहीं है. Sir के लिए collect नहीं करना है, HOD के लिए collect नहीं करना है. And I think this message why I want to drive it through is that when it was COVID, whenever somebody called up and checked up with them saying that what is the, मेरे को COVID हुआ है करके, as soon as somebody says, the other side, the person used to say, what is the score? 90 and 95 hai, 85 hai, and then the quick decisions, if it is 80, please go to the hospital. If it is 95, it's okay, but take care of yourselves. You can. So what happened? We had set of symptoms as data: taste, smell, fever, feeling lazy. So these were symptoms based on certain data points which got collected. And then we started working on it. But then it became a national-wide or nation-wide thought process. In our schools, how are we going to, how if you have to go back next month and say that my teachers will go through a data literacy program, how will you, what is the mantra that you will recommend for your own school and for the schools? One part. And second part is, how will you institutionalize this particular data? Data collection as a center. And if you have if you want to take a couple of minutes, if others are ready, any one of you can take it up. I'm okay with that. What is that you think? Because as I said, this is more a question while all of you are talking. I was just thinking that कैसे इसको introduce कराना? Because the easiest thing, I'm very sorry to say that there are a lot of programs like financial literacy which has been introduced. You do a program, you conduct an assessment, you give one certificate, you become financial literacy. I don't think data literacy can come unless it becomes institutionalized, right from the security till the principal, right from the security till the principal. Everybody is talking with the same numbers. Then the culture for data will come in, is my belief system.
Yeah.
Correct. Like just to give a simple example, I went to a school in, I don't want to mention a city. I went to a school where they had the security guy was able to say that how many queries came for admissions. How many people came for admissions? And while going back, he was always asking that if you have admitted, why you are, if you're not admitted, what is there in your mind? What is the reason that you don't want your kid to be left with us? So the data was not getting collected at the reception, but at the main gate. So I think it's a very good practice that everybody knows why. And what was very interesting is that this particular school was using this data to talk to the HODs. The principal was using this data to talk to the HODs, was also using the data to talk to the departments. I think that's something very, very important. And if you're not going to go back and work on it, I think this challenge will continue. So if you have some thoughts, anybody can just start, Rajesh or Pandey or Jacob, quickly, any one of you.
Traditionally, sorry.
Go ahead.
Please continue.
Traditionally, this data collection was at the higher level with the principal, and analyzing was with the principal. The lower down the ladder, nobody was bothered because their job was to collect the data and give it to the principal, and he is the guy who sits there and analyzes and understands, and how it was implemented is up to him. I think it has to be, now, as you very rightly said, certain data, if the gatekeeper can collect and give it to the school for the improvement of this thing, like that. Like, for example, financial data can be collected at the admission data can be collected at the admission status. Talking, very casually, rather than asking them for data. Talking very casually.
Survey question, giving them a straight question.
Yes, they will give you all the data that you want. And I also feel some of the data can be collected by our students themselves. We can give them a project. I can't think of, off track just now, what kind of a project. But certain projects can be given to the higher class, particularly the commerce department, where they are interested into numbers and analyzing the numbers. That is going to be their cup of tea later on in life. So some of the questions some of the data can be collected by them through research method. They can do a research on it and come out with the analytics and try to find out why these things are happening. So this could be some of the off-beaten way of getting data, which could be, principal's head is only one. Whereas the others, when they put so many heads together, you will get a lot of data and a lot of analytics, which you may not have thought of. There could be different ways of thinking also. So bring in some fresh air, empower them, empower the students, empower the teachers, empower the administration, even empower the gatekeeper. He will also be able to give a lot of analytics to this kind of thing. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
If I want to add, Senthil, what I observed, many times the girls were having some problem. There were complaints, and the parents will come, and maybe they were at times very negative feedback coming. So I tried to know, and then I came to know that there is a deficiency at certain time in the morning, that the girls need some sanitary towels, and that was happening because the in charge used to come by 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And this I came to know because I have put a question box at the reception. The children, if they have any question, any problem, they can directly put it, and that is opened by me only. Nobody in between.
Sure.
So in that, the children, they write all kinds of queries, that why we should be, if suppose someday the filter water is not really smelling the way it should be, the kids will write it. If there is any other problem, cleanliness or class is having something, they just give it feedback. The type of class test has happened. So I found it's a very, very small thing. And then we arranged it the way kids have started. So the data which comes, and about you were telling the data literacy, the how do we motivate the teachers? I always have started telling them, please do understand, you know, as the technology is coming up, we have to adapt it. If we do not adapt it, again, it will cause extinction, not of the institution, but surely of the person if we don't learn it. So that is how it is going on. Thank you.
Yes, Pandey.
Let me put it in this form. See, what Sanjay sir is asking about is how we are going to bring in data literacy. Let me tell you that if you look into a class where a teacher is teaching English, a teacher is teaching accounts, teacher is teaching physics, chemistry, you will find in every classroom, the teacher has his own vocabulary. From his vocabulary itself, you will understand whether he's a teacher of English or a teacher of accounts or a teacher of physics, because he will be using those particular words in his day-to-day language. Now, similarly, if I want to bring in data literacy in the school, then the first thing that has to begin is where you have to talk to them in terms of numbers. Let me say that in a classroom or in the school, I have 4,500 students. Let me say that I have made a decision in the school and passed on it to the parents. Okay, I have 100 parents who were against that. So for me, if I'm saying 100 parents, many of them may feel that it is such a big number. But what is 100 parents for 4,500 parents, 4,500 students? You know, you take the percentage of this, the percentage is very, very small. So when I talk in terms of that particular thing, it makes more sense in the school. Like, for example, imagine a parent is coming to the school. Every one of us are parents. We have our own children studying. What would you like to hear? We would like to hear their marks in terms of percentage. If the teacher is telling that your child is good in studies, I and you will not understand. But if I am able to tell that your child stands second in the classroom or third in the classroom or 10th in the classroom, or his percentage is so much, it makes more sense than just telling, you know, arbitrary statement saying that your child is good. Because these days what has happened is good, bad, adjectives, they have no meaning. You know, we need to, you know, in fact, quantify them, and until we quantify them, people will not understand. So that is where, you know, like if we want data literacy in the school, then the first thing what has to happen is our vocabulary in the school has to change. What percentage of the children are doing this? Why in the very beginning I told that we don't have to see who is the first ranker in the school. I have to first see what is my school average.
Correct.
So that makes more sense.
Sure. There are two things which come. One from the Radhika saying that there are some special assemblies being done by SPM, that is Satpal Mittal School. And she also talks about bridge course idea was a fantastic idea, which one of you basically said. Nirmala ma'am again reacts by saying that the teachers are not afraid of data collection. If 5W1H is explained with clarity, that is 5W, why are we collecting data and what is the need of data and how are we going to use this particular data, then I think people will have most of the time things to be done. But unknowingly, knowingly, I think in our daily life today, we go even to pick up a cup of tea. Even if you go and want to pick up a cup of tea in any of the airport or railway station, that fellow doesn't want to give you a bill, but he says, ki, sir, aapka phone number de do. Okay. So that mobile number, the way we very casually give it for a 10 rupees or 20 rupees or 50 rupees coffee. And we are willing to share that kind of a data. But when it comes to school, I think we really need to kind of look at it. But I think thank you very much for all three of you to share your perspectives from your good practices. And I think this is a series, and this is just a session 2, and I will have multiple series. But it is only all about hearing. I'll come back to you, Pandey. But I think it's very important for us that to come together like this on different format, and go back and talk to all the people who are not here, because this will also get shared and it is available on the YouTube at the channel as well as on the TLC's website. #ASKTLC. If you do a little Google on YouTube, you'll be able to get this particular link, and you can see all the videos on the data literacy is something very, very important. And Pandey also made a mention about, which I just wanted a little correction, that PISA is something which is going to come up in the country very soon, and PISA for school is also something which we are expecting will come in. But whether that happens or not is secondary part of it. But already in SAFL, I think the SAFL examination, which has already been introduced by CBSE for grade 5 and 8, is a diagnostic assessment basically on achievement of learning outcomes, which is very, very critical to make sure that life becomes much more easier for all of us. Concluding comments from each one of you in a minute. Go ahead, Pandey, start with.
I was
experience also to, talk to other counterparts from Kerala and Madhya Pradesh.
One important thing, what I was thinking about when we talk about teachers. In fact, we shouldn't burden teachers with data. Data is not collected in a day. If we are talking of data being collected in a day, then it is burden for the teacher. No, if there is a progressive way of collecting data, day by day, every day you collect small amount of data, you will find by the end of the year you have chunk of data. That is number one. Number two, data must not be collected just for the sake of collecting. For every small thing that we have collected, we need to, keep reviewing. We need to keep talking about it. We need to keep revisiting that particular data a number of times. And if we are doing that, I'm very sure teachers will understand, the importance of that. And the days to come, even they don't feel burdened, because this is what we do in the school. Like for every small thing, what we do is we have a person giving. But when we look at the end of it, yes, we have a lot of chunk of data where we can. In fact, just we were, filling the SQA form, and we found that most of the things we had with us were one or two things. Okay, fine. We never thought of it, but yes, it was there. It guided us a lot of things. But a lot of things were available in the school when we didn't have to, go back and create those data.
Fine. So there are a couple of questions which have come up. I think I'll kind of quickly go through them. Yeah. One is from Deepali Mishra. She says, more than the collection of data, it is the analysis that is important in decision making. Data should flow from the school's vision, designing what objectives are to be accomplished, is helpful in finalizing what data is to be collected. It is equally important that communicate these to teacher and staff. This is perhaps one way of ensuring ownership for a process. Very good, Deepali. I appreciate your comment. And it also further says that ownership for a process, and thus ensures the data collection by the process owner. The leadership facilitate the resource and the IT to help the teachers. Deepali further says students can also be ingrained into the process of data collection. For example, their own term-wise progress. Very good, Deepali, for that wonderful thought process. From Jamshedpur, I have Freddy Fernando, who also says, I think that the Tamil Nadu government has already implemented data collection through assessment using the app for all the government schools. Yes, these are some initiatives which is already started. And my own question is that unless people understand that what exactly and how exactly it needs to be collected, we will not be able to make difference. Yes, Rajesh. And Pandey, how was your session? How was your interaction in the last 1 hour? It's already 1 hour plus.
I don't know how the time flies.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, Rajesh, go ahead.
So, sir, to be honest, we have to use data, and it is the ownership as it is, because the teacher must feel they are part of the management. They get empowered by using data, and they will be able to take decisions through this. And that is what is most important, because the process of success will be through data now.
Correct.
That's all. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Rajesh. Jacob.
Data collection is a big tough. I don't know whether I contributed anything, but I learned a lot from this discussion. But I would like to add one more small little thing, which I thought is very interesting may not be for data collection, but for improvement of the school, which Mr. Pandey has already mentioned. That is your suggestion box. I remember a lot of stories that Dr. Senthil passed on when we were at training about suggestion boxes, and I expected these things to come. I got a couple of hairbands, which the children did not want. which I introduced this year. I put it in the suggestion box for the principal, which I know that the children don't like. And they also wanted the mirror in the toilet that I have removed back. I mean, these are some of the. So the thing is, I can understand what is.
We are losing your voice. We are losing your voice.
Maybe there's a power
And maybe network.
1 minute.
network. Yeah.
Let's see if he can join back. Okay, by the time he kind of joins back, my whole personal learning for today has been, first of all, we need to kind of bring in this appreciation that why are we doing a practice in a school? If you're doing the appreciation of a practice in a school, obviously what will happen that the people will start understanding that why are we trying to do some of these things. So process is something very, very important. And I think we really need to kind of look at it as one. Once we understand the process very, very clearly, obviously the next thing which is going to happen is going to be all about the need will come.
Yes.
Once the need comes in, then automatically people will understand data has to be collected. And once the data is going to be collected, that need will also define that what kind of data we really need to kind of collect and make decisions now based on that particular practice. And many a times what happens is that when we try to work with schools and work with the teachers, we really need to kind of, make sure that how exactly we are going to go back and work on it. But this is something which is very, very important as a country, as educators. I think we really need to start sowing the seeds for understanding. Don't collect the data for the sake of collecting, like somebody said. Somebody said, I keep looking at people, how many times I looked at people and what happened after that, we are not very sure about it. So the impact is the need once you start working on it. And I'm sure that we will be able to kind of, work and make sure that life becomes very, very easy for all of us to, go ahead and bring change into the thinking process. So the first and foremost thing which we may have to go back and do it, Jacob has joined us again. Okay. Yes, Jacob. Yeah, go ahead, Jacob.
There was a power outage here, so I just got thrown out of my laptop.
No problem.
So
You're saying something, you can conclude that.
Yes, I enjoyed this as much as you did, and I learned a lot from here. And I'm sure our viewers are also picked up a couple of points that they can discuss with their teachers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And data is going to be the future. So my request to all the participants who are, joined us here or who will be seeing is that please go back and start thinking about the need for it and how exactly can we actually actualize. With that particular note, stay safe and best wishes. I think some of you are in vacation. Some people have started the school. I think Agra and Bhopal, they are on holiday right now.
Yeah, we are on vacation.
Oh, you're on holiday. But I think our friend Jacob is running the school. So to all the people who are, running the school, all the best for the next academic year. And you guys, thank you for taking time off during your vacation to contribute to this particular discussion what we had. Namaste.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
So much, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir.